Thanks, everybody, for joining us. My name is Raja Gawi. I'm a partner at Era Ventures. We're a new venture fund investing in technologies and business model innovations disrupting the physical world. I have the pleasure to join some of my favorite people in construction, Maria, Jeevan, and Justin. I'll do some quick intros, and then we'll start to talk about the intersection of construction technology and financial technology here. Maria is the co-founder CEO of Kojo, a procurement tool and B2B marketplace for electricians and recently other trades, helping them procure materials more efficiently. Jeevan is the co-founder and CEO of OpenSpace, a photo documentation tool for construction sites. And Justin is the co-founder and CEO of Shepherd, a tech-enabled construction insurance company. As many of you know here, construction is a $1.3 trillion industry in the US alone, with a lot of complex financial products between equity, debt, insurance, and many others. It's a highly fragmented space with a lot of friction due to that fragmentation and the way the money flows down from the banks all the way to the workers and suppliers, and then how that information flows from the field all the way up to those who hold the purse. And we're at a very unique time in the industry. We have unprecedented data about what we need to build, but also unprecedented amount of data coming out of the site about what's getting built. And can't think of a better panel to talk to us about why construction tech and fintech, and why now. Without further ado, over to Maria, who can tell us a little bit more about what Kojo is building and how fintech is part of their product roadmap.
Yeah, so is my mic? Yes. Yeah, it's on? Okay, fabulous. So hi everyone, I'm Maria Reumann. I started a company called Kojo, which we're a materials management platform. So what that means is from project takeoff to project closeout, contractors can use our platform to manage all aspects of their materials needs. And that starts with creating requisitions in the field, all the way through to passing them to purchasing agents, turning them into POs, helping with things like RFQs and hold for releases, quote comparisons, managing things against estimates, and then closing the loop with actually managing deliveries, reconciling invoices, and now also focusing on payments. And for us, one of the reasons I was excited to be on this panel and to talk about fintech is that especially when we think about payments, payments in construction are extremely broken. And payments are very broken across a number of different parties, which for us, the area that we focus on is the payment between the subcontractor and the distributor. And today, right in the US, there's more than $300 billion worth of construction materials on the commercial side that get bought every year. And usually those get paid for with a mixture of ACH, check, and credit cards. But the way that spend is tracked is still largely analog. So a lot of our customers will maintain spreadsheets where they track what are the payment terms that they have and when are they going to get rebates and what it actually takes for them to hit those rebates. And today, if you're running a contracting business, that takes an enormous amount of time in addition to all the time that you're spending making sure that your invoice actually matches your purchase order, which actually matches your delivery. And so for us, where we came in is we said, well, step one, let's actually simplify the process of reconciling your invoices, right? Let's do that matching in an automated way. Let's make sure that any construction company, where for us, we started with electrical, but now we've expanded to all major trades over the last year, can actually make sure that they're paying the right amount. And then let's make it easy for them to actually pay. And so through that, let's make it easy for them to manage their spend and actually issue the payment directly in one platform that can give them data and insights into how much are they paying for different materials and how they're actually tracking against their estimated project spend.
So Jeevan, you're not touching sort of money flows just yet, but OpenSpace captures a lot of very relevant data. So can you tell us a little bit more about sort of what OpenSpace does and how it can enable fintech products?
Yeah, so what we do is what you said we do, but essentially we make it extremely easy to have a complete visual record of any project, inside and out, every day or every week. So anybody that's running that project can look and see what is actually in fact there. So what we're doing in a very real way is creating the actual system of record of what is there, like what is the money turning into, down to the week or down to the day. And so people have all kinds of reasons for using that data. But what we found is our customers, whether they're developers, owners, general contractors of the trades, were using it to simplify things that tie to the flow of money. Because if you kind of pull back, I think one of the reasons, so you asserted that payments are broken in an industry, which I agree with. And you have to ask, well, why is that compared to other industries? Well, my assertion is that it's just much more of an uncertain or risky business compared to others. It's hard to know what's going on. So you have these very laborious and complex verification steps that people have to take to just issue payment. Like, should I pay Acme Electrical or not? I don't know. Did they do the work? Maybe, right? And so what we're doing is making it extremely easy to check that from anywhere at any time. So we saw customers use us and the data that we collect for their pay applications, just to I don't need to send someone to go visit the site. I can say yes from my computer. And we also see them using the same data for insurance to validate claims and so on. In fact, we have a partnership with Shepherd that's very much based on the observation that if you're using the type of technologies that we provide, then your project will be fundamentally less risky and should suffer fewer losses. So generally speaking, I think there's an opportunity to use the data that is of what is actually there to take risk out of a risky business. Once you do that, you should be able to realize efficiencies that are currently getting costed out in somehow, whether more overhead or really expensive insurance policies or really long payment terms. And if we can shrink those down, the whole industry will become more efficient.
And Justin, you're in the insurance business, right? But you're leveraging a lot of data coming from OpenSpace and other players as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about why Shepherd, why now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we sort of think about our business as kind of a second-order business. It doesn't really exist if it doesn't sort of have the precursor of what Jeevan and what so many others have done in the construction environment. We are a tech-enabled insurance company. We use tech in really two ways. First is how we underwrite, so the efficiency and the speed that we think about delivering insurance policies, everything from submissions coming in the door through rating, quoting, binding, policy turn going out the door. But really kind of the second area and the core component that Shepherd was founded on is that construction has changed so much in the last 5 to 10 years, really most concentrated in that last 5. The byproduct of so many of these different tools being used on job sites is we actually now have a better picture about how contractors, and in many cases owner-developers, are controlling loss out in the field. And the way that we looked at the industry is we felt like the legacy providers weren't really using this data in any meaningful way. And so there was a really amazing opportunity to go out and say, hey, let's go reward the most innovative contractors and developers and trades. Let's build an insurance model that incentivizes them not only to continue using these tools, like OpenSpace, but also to further their adoption, giving them a financial incentive to go out and say, hey, I'm now going to roll this out across my entire portfolio rather than one single project, and really impact the bottom line, whether it be their overall cost of insurance or their rate of insurance that they're paying on a per project basis.
So Jeevan, you alluded to this just now, but there's a new partnership between OpenSpace and Shepherd. And Justin, over to you, sort of, why OpenSpace, and sort of, if you can tell us a little bit more about that partnership as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I came from the field, so I came from construction, and the first thing that I ever did was really a version of manual job site capture. It is a process that almost every contractor, every construction site is doing today in one way or another. And for me, it was literally snapping a digital photo, uploading it to a Word document, and writing about what was going on. Certainly very, very far from something real time like what OpenSpace is doing, and very uncorrelated to the actual construction drawings. We partnered with OpenSpace because we think that OpenSpace, first and foremost, makes a significant impact on loss control. If you're using the tool on a day-to-day basis, we felt like contractors were both improving the quality of their job sites as well as safety. And we could see that in the data, and it's something we've foundationally set up in terms of backlooking data studies as well as how we think about tracking data on a go-forward basis. If you can be proactive about capturing what's happening on your job site, you're going to eventually mitigate claims and improve loss results over time. That was really the first reason. The second reason, this is more particular to OpenSpace, is that I think the sort of field of risk services is also changing quite a bit. Insurance companies historically have visited projects, sometimes on a monthly basis, sometimes on a quarterly basis, and often they would very much limit these visits to only their highest profile clients. and it's very sort of fake. An insurance company would tell a customer, hey, I'm coming to your job site next Tuesday. I'm going to do a walkthrough. I'm going to give you a report. I'm going to tell you how things are going. Obviously, the contractor, the owner, et cetera, is going to clean things up and make it look great. With a tool like OpenSpace, we think the future of risk services is both virtual as well as more active and more real time. And so as far as how we deliver kind of a more integrated and active insurance program, we see OpenSpace as kind of a day one partner, but also a day 1,000 partner in terms of innovation and things we can do in the future.
And Jeevan, I know you have sort of a partnership with Shepherd with other companies as well, and I'm curious how you think about partner versus build in-house for other sort of fintech-related solutions.
That is a good question. I guess my answer is pretty simple. It's like, how do you get the best thing to the market as fast as possible, right? And I think the sin most startup companies commit is to think, oh, that's easy, we'll just do it, which is almost never true. So all the things that Justin has done are impressive and difficult, and I think it's much more possible that we can get something out to the market that they'll benefit from directly by working together. And that's kind of how I think about it. It's you got to keep it pretty simple, I think.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. Our core competency is to make extremely easy to use products that are powered by computer vision and artificial intelligence. So we just have to keep doing that and build those out and plug them into the places where they can deliver the most value.
Maria, somewhat similar question to you. Sort of looking back at the last 1-2 years, a lot of venture money went into lending products, and you chose to do payments and you chose to do it in-house. So can you tell us a little bit more about your thinking about that product roadmap and why you took those decisions?
Yeah, we, unlike Jeevan, we like pain. So we decided to build in-house. But no, for us, the overall goal is to be the end-to-end materials management platform. And so we actually get and capture a huge amount of data when it comes to what people are spending money on, who pays on time, how they spend that money, the different forms that payment actually gets issued through. So for us, a lot of the thinking was, well, let's actually let's use that data, and using that, offer an amazing experience to our customers to simplify a lot of those pains that I spoke about. And so for us, when I say we're building it ourselves, right, it's not that we're literally building payment rails ourselves. Obviously, we're working, with a bunch of companies out there that do everything from payments processing, all the way through to treasury services. And the amazing thing is doing that today is so much easier than it was, even when we started the company 4 or 5 years ago, because that ecosystem has really evolved. And so that means that if you're thinking about everything from embedding payments to embedding lending services, you can do that now in a way that is much faster, that takes a lot less engineering time, and similar to the principle that Jeevan mentioned, that can really center around this concept of how quickly can you bring something to market. And so for us, we already capture all of that data, so we didn't need to go to a third party to get that data from them. We said, well, we already have it. Now let's actually work with these financial layer services and use that to build the solution.
Right. So the fintech enablement ecosystem is mature enough that it powers you.
Definitely.
We've talked a lot about data and sort of the wealth of data that's now available. And my next question is to Justin around underwriting. You're in the business of underwriting risk, and you alluded to how sort of it's a unique moment in time because there is a lot of data availability right now. And curious if you can tell us a little bit more about what key data sort of moves the needle for an insurance product like yours that's only available now, or sort of meaningfully more available now versus a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's quite a lot of data in a lot of different sort of fragmented spaces. So I think one of the first challenges we had as a company is kind of sorting through who are the right partners for us, and what are the data points that we care about, and how much are we going to sort of change the way that traditional underwriting is delivered in construction. I think the approach that we've taken in a lot of ways is, rather than saying we've invented a brand new model, we're more so in the camp of bending an old model to the future and into something that we think is a bit more modernized. We have focused quite a bit on project management as a sector. So folks that are using tools that manage anything from day-to-day incident management out in the field, change orders, RFIs, submittals. Quality QA/QC often can be managed through project management platforms. What we've really focused on is the frequency of adoption of these tools. So how often is somebody engaging with this platform? Is it sort of their tool of record for how they're managing their portfolio? And then what's the breadth of that? Are they using that broadly across their portfolio, or is it in a single instance in a single location? And so with different tools, we have partnerships with Procore, we have partnerships with Autodesk, obviously the two biggest providers in the platform space for project management. Again, we're sort of focused in on how can we measure things that are proxy for risk management and loss control. And so, again, we really kind of dive in on, is this contractor being consistent? Is this developer being consistent across their portfolio? And can we see a frequency and a depth of usage of these tools that really does translate into better loss results? So again, it influences underwriting. It doesn't necessarily we don't say we have this new magic bullet, but rather we enhance our underwriting and we really focus where we're going to get aggressive. Rather than in other areas where we would say, hey, this is just a traditional kind of approach for us.
Makes sense. We have another 15 minutes or so, and I would love to open it up to questions from the audience.
Right, okay, so the question was, we talked about how there has traditionally not been, let me get a question right, by the way, not that much data which creates this friction in payments, say, between the lender to the owner to the GC and back up again. And then the question is, well, what will it take to actually start shrinking those? I don't think it's, so first I will assert, I don't think it's that far away. And I think the reasons are, one, the data now exists to actually do this. It's not hypothetical. Number two, the ability to build systems, as Maria was saying, is fundamentally easier than it used to be. So it's like starting a cloud company 20 years ago. You had to buy server racks, which is complicated and hard. And the same hardness of starting a FinTech company is starting to go away. So there'll be more experimentation. So I think the raw materials are there for it to happen. And then I think you'll probably see it happen soon. It'll be like a company just offers it or partners with a financial institution that will offer invoice refactoring. I mean, the thing is, I guess to add to this point is, it's not like people don't already do this, right? Invoice refactoring exists. Financial institutions do provide this already. It's just that the cost is usurious, right? But it's irrational. I guess what I would say is that the reason why the payment is all messed up right now is actually rational, given the context that we've been in. No one should really take on that risk to pay early without this information. But now I think it exists, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see those firms that offer invoice refactoring services start pairing up with companies that can provide the data. So, like I said, I don't think there needs to be a fundamentally new thing brought to the market for this to happen. It'll just take time for the right companies to get the right level of scale and set up the partnerships or whatever to see that start to happen.
Yeah, one of the challenges about the contractual structure of the industry is that if I'm doing business with you, withholding money gives me more leverage over you to get you to do more work or other work, right?
Yeah.
And that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. And that was one of my questions about this space is well, what is the actual incentive? Let's say we're talking about faster payments. By the way, there's lots of different ways that these new systems and data will reduce cost and risk, like in insurance or whatever. So faster payments is just one. And I would think that there's no incentive for the person holding the purse to pay faster. And I was surprised actually to find out that that is maybe not true. And the reason is that if you are trying to get a great product, let's say a building built, you need to incentivize your partners, which is the trades, you want to get the best ones. And if you can, paying them faster is a huge incentive to get the best talent to your job. And so there are large GCs that actually have their own in-house accelerated payments systems. And you would think they'd be absolutely not motivated, but they're doing it. So clearly there's some kind of incentive there. I mean, I'm sure the picture's a lot more complex with some that are into it and some that are not. But I was pretty interested to find that out.
Some of the largest players do pride themselves on paying sort of on time or offer some of those lending products, but at the industry scale, it's not there yet.
I think like in this environment with labor shortages, with things like that, like you're sort of double-edged sword there by holding and maintaining leverage. You're potentially losing out on, like Jeevan saying, the best talent, the best trades, et cetera. So yeah, I could see that being a risky strategy over the coming 5 years or whatnot.
From the trade side, you also actually have a lot of incentives that are provided by distributors. So that, to me, was a really interesting thing to see how much distributors right now, they're very cash strapped. If you think about things from their perspective, on average, it's more than 50 days for them to get paid back. And it's very difficult to run your business if that's the case. So they will also have an entire set of incentives that they create where, we'll see customers with wildly varying payment terms. And a lot of the ones that pay on time will get preferential treatment. Not only will they get better payment terms, but tied to that preferential treatment, they'll get everything from just-in-time delivery to a lot of other perks that otherwise might not be actually available to you. So I definitely agree on the framing of the incentives in the industry is
evolving.
Ripe for innovation.
All right, so the question is, how are we using AI in our products right now? So we use it in a few ways. So the first core layer of how our system works, so real quick, the way OpenSpace works is if there's someone who's doing a job walk across a project, which they do just from time immemorial. With OpenSpace, they'll do that with a little camera on their hard hat. We don't make the hardware. These are just cameras you can buy on Best Buy. It takes a video, and then what our first layer of AI does is it's able to figure out where each image was taken and map it to the floor plan. These images are 360 images too, so you can really see everything. And so what that does is it allows you to get a full picture of your site without asking anybody to do this big new task. So that's layer one. But then once we have all that data that's located on the sheets, we also have a product we call progress tracking, and it actually can understand what the materials are in those images and then calculate how much work was done. So for example, we can say on floor 3, 100% of the framing is done, 100% of the top tracks put in, 50% of the drywall has been hung, and 22% has been taped, or something like that. And we do this for a variety of different trades. And that ties to the payments thing quite literally. So those are some of the ways we use it. And for us, artificial intelligence is just a tool to make useful products and workflows faster and simpler. So that's what we do.
Yeah, for us, it's really centered around the catalog. Right? Our goal is to make it extremely easy for anyone on a job site to find exactly what they need. And the problem is before, let's say you're using our catalog, right, it's extremely error prone. Because when you specify something, for some of the materials, there might be 20 aspects to specify. And if you're writing something out with a pen and paper, if you're typing it out on your phone, it's very easy to miss one of those specs, right? And in some cases, that might mean that material actually isn't able to be used or needs to get sent back, and then you're wasting a huge amount of time. So for us, a lot of it is around making sure that the catalog gets smarter and smarter and continues to learn. So that means that the more that you use it, the more that we build up the back-end metadata of what are the attributes of those materials and what projects are they being tied to, so that our recommendation engines can get smarter over time. And also that they learn what it is, right, that your team is ordering. So again, we can make it such that when you search something, a much more relevant result is going to show up.
Justin, anything on AI?
I mean, not yet for us. There's definitely some applications of AI, or in the sense machine learning, for what we do. We want to make the process of underwriting as efficient as possible. But yeah, it's not necessarily a key core focus for us yet.
Early days.
Yeah.
Other questions from the audience? I have one for the panel. What are you most excited about product-wise in the next 12 to 18 months?
For our companies or generally?
For your companies, and if you want to talk about the industry generally, I'll definitely take you up on that.
All right, who wants to start?
Wow, well, I don't want to make any announcements on this panel. I think generally what what I'm excited about is the fact that the type of experience we provide it's at least from what I can see, it's starting to become like fairly common, where people are just doing it. And I think what I feel like we've been able to unlock on that front is we've been able to pretty uniquely, I think, make our systems very easy and very fast. So if you walk around with our technology, the average turnaround time is around 15 minutes. So that means that people can get access to this data for all kinds of stuff. They don't need to like wait a day, and that pushes you into these like more limited use cases. So what I'm excited about, hopefully we can leverage, is just making that faster and faster and easier. One thing I think is cool is just advances in mobile are pretty cool. So as some of you may or may not know, like the iPhones for the last year or so actually have a little LiDAR scanner built into them. And we support that in OpenSpace. So you can take out your phone and just scan a space with just your phone, and you get pretty good, rich data that you can like snap a measurement from far away. So I'm pretty excited to see that technology get better and better, and us leverage that. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, Apple, for making cool stuff. That, and one more thing is we've been able to collect a lot of data so far. Our little fun fact is we just passed about 10 billion square feet of data that's been captured on the platform, and there's more and more capacity to do kind of AI-powered algorithms that were just simply too expensive or time-consuming. Now you can start doing these things and deliver products based on them as opposed to just research papers. So that I think is going to open up a whole lot of cool things and allow us to plug that data in to the workflows that we're talking about on this panel.
Well, for us, and again, I feel like our marketing team will be very angry at me if I make any announcements. And we have some very exciting announcements. But instead of speaking cryptically, I'll talk more to one of them, which is I'm very excited about a lot of the distributor integrations that we're launching. Because even if we think about payments, right, payments need to go to a distributor. That means that distributor needs to be there to receive the money. And from our perspective, we want that distributor to be a first-class citizen on our platform, right? We want them to be able to not only receive money, but also have a bunch of functionality that allows them, to track who has and hasn't paid them, and actually themselves find a lot of use in Kojo. And when we got started, this would have been 5 years ago, I remember every VC telling me, no way, distributors will never work with you. Those that will never work out the way that you're saying because this industry is based on relationships. Behold, wrong. They actually are working with us. Because especially in a lot of geographies in the US, we have a huge amount of the volume that is actually being bought from those distributors going through our platform. And so there, what I'm really excited about is now, you as a customer will be able to see things like real-time pricing, real-time inventory, and make smarter and smarter buying decisions.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about what you guys are excited about as a starting point. For us, I think when you think about insurance in construction or insurance in real estate, I think one of the biggest challenges that folks in this industry have is uncertainty. On a year-to-year basis, rates are very, very variable. Often an insurance policy can jump 20%, 50%, 100%, and it can be totally independent of that particular insured's performance and loss history. It could be just a function of what's going on in the market. And so as we've thought about how we create these unique partnerships with folks like Jeevan, folks like Maria, the idea that we've really started to think about is what would it mean to provide more certainty and to create a more active insurance product rather than a reactive insurance product. And what that means for customers is that if customers are able to say, hey, I'm going to let you sort of plug into my ecosystem, I'm going to show you the data around the tools that I'm using, and I'm going to give that as part of how I'm underwritten, then in return, what they can expect is certainty. Perhaps even locking in rates on a multi-year basis, which is pretty unheard of across especially casualty lines in construction. So these are the types of things we're trying to get to. We think we have a pretty unique kind of approach here where the legacy partners in our space are the old incumbents that have been doing it for 300 years, and that means that they've done some things really, really right. We just think that there's been a lot of really significant changes in this industry in the last just handful of years that create this opportunity to think about things quite a bit different going forward.
Thank you. We're almost at time, so if there are no more questions.
Why we rebranded from Agora to Kojo? Yeah, great question. We came up with the name Agora at my kitchen table in 2018, at which point our only resources were essentially Google. And we thought we were really proficient at using Google, and we used Google a lot. But then it turns out that there's a lot we didn't Google. Most importantly, it's that Agora actually means now in Portuguese. And so there were so many companies called Agora out there that we realized we were never going to be able to build a brand that actually owned SEO on that platform. So we've been talking about changing our name, I think, from about 2019. And then after we did our Series B, we essentially said, the later we do it, the more painful it'll be. And so we decided to do it now. And Kojo actually is a term that comes from lean manufacturing. So it literally means improvement. And we were really inspired by that, right? Because that's what we're there to do. We're there to help our customers maximize productivity and minimize waste. So yeah, we loved Kojo, and we can own the SEO for Kojo.
Well, Maria, Jeevan, Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. There's one final panel here, so if folks want to stay, another set of speakers will be on in a couple minutes. Thank you.